isn't that the truth? An all-important day, and we could have a verdict then tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Possibly. Matt Johnson, thank you so much for that update. We'll look forward to seeing you in our next hour and all throughout the day here on Court TV Live. I want to bring in my guests and talk some more about this case. I want to welcome in homicide detective Phil Waters and trial attorney and law professor Joe Richardson. Good morning to you both. Thanks so much for being on the program today. So I have a theory after hearing all of the evidence in this case, and if what the state of Idaho has told us is true, my theory is that this is the most savage affair that has ever occurred. And I say that because we know affairs happen all the time. You know, and sometimes people die, but here we have multiple people killed. If what the state of Idaho is saying is true, they killed their spouses. Then they killed the minor children that were dependent on her. And then there were some other suspicious things that happened. Oh, I don't know, like their co-conspirator suddenly dies. I wouldn't be surprised if that turns into another homicide case. But to me, if what the state of Idaho says is correct, this is the most savage love affair there ever was. Detective Phil, I want to pick your brain about something. You know a lot about cults. You know, you've investigated many cases that involve people buying into cult beliefs, cult leaders, all of that. To me, so much of that is noise at this point. To me, I find it simple. I find it an affair, savage behavior, the worst kind of behavior, so that they have money to carry out their life together. Your thoughts, please, Detective.
Well, you're right, Julie. I would have to agree with that assessment, because when any type of an event like this occurs, it always boils down to the most simple answer. And again, I've said it repeatedly, sex, drugs, or money. So when you get past all of the minutia and getting it out of the weeds of the religious, cult-like activity and belief system and that kind of thing, that's what it boils down to. In this particular case, it's sex and money.
Appreciate it, Detective. And you're used to working these cases. Yeah, I'm not an investigator, but I'm just thinking after processing this evidence, I think it's very simple. And I think the state got it right from the outset, the way they said it's sex, it's power, it's money. You know, nowhere in there was anything about religion. And at first I thought, wait a second, what about the religion? We've been hearing about these people's wacky beliefs for so long. And no. They kept it concise. Joe Richardson, do you think that is going to serve them well when it's time for the closing arguments to revert back to what they promised in the open?
Yes, I think that it is. I would say, though, that the discussion about the cult and the presentation related to that does help with the why, the WHY. You don't always need, you don't need a motive per se, but juries like them. Juries appreciate them. It doesn't make what happened make any sense, but it makes what happened explainable as they're going along the road to convict. So it does belong in there somewhere. But the idea is that even if you take that and put that off to the side, all of the cult things or whatever else, the acts themselves are about them being together, removing every obstacle, which included kids and spouses, which is really quite incredulous. But the evidence is there. It's totally mounted. They're finding people on their properties. And so in a way, you don't need all of the extra cult stuff, but it does help with the why. The presentation is overwhelming and devastating, any way you look at it. And I'm not sure what the defense actually would have said in response to all of that. So here we are.
Here we are, Joe, thank you. Let's play a clip. This is a clip where that special agent from the FBI, Doug Hart, that poor guy was on the stand a long time, going through all the evidence he uncovered in this one. He analyzed Cult Mom's iCloud text messages. And here, this seems to me what we're about to look at has somewhat of a supportive aspect to it for Cult Mom. This really is not so good for Chad and does kind of help her out a little bit. Let's listen.
There were texts about the nuances or the ins and outs of life, like paying bills, those kinds of things?
Correct.
Okay. And based on your review of the text as a whole, as the state has indicated. You reviewed all these texts, or a large number of these texts. Isn't it true that Lori was, for all intents and purposes, a pretty good mother?
With the exception of what happened to her children, yes.
All right. And based on your review of the text as a whole, Lori seemed to have led a pretty normal life until she met Chad Daybell. Is that correct?
Yes, I would say so.
Yay, when you got the, the homicide case with the kids, that's pretty bad. That question could have been done a little better if it was worded better. I think the problem was the wording, and that was a little too open-ended. It could have been tighter. But, here we are that he's able to get out of this witness that Lori had kind of a normal life before Chad. And I'm curious to get your thoughts, both of you as our analyst guests on the program today, about whether or not the severance of Lori and Chad's cases has helped or hurt Lori. She didn't want the severance. It was Chad and his attorney who wanted it. And I don't know that it's going to do him a lot of good to go to trial alone, but we'll see. What do you think? Is this helping her at all to not have him there? And the other co-conspirator, allegedly her brother, is dead, as we know. Detective Phil, share your thoughts on this, if you would, please.
Well, the severance in the case initiated by Chad because he waived his speedy trial rights. So, and I think that was calculated. I think Chad, at this point, and this is just my opinion based on what we've seen with all of this, is that he wants to get as far away from her as he possibly can. So I don't think his presence if they'd have tried them together, I mean, it's all speculation at this point, but I don't know that he would have benefited at all from being there. Now, she might have benefited from him being there as kind of this Svengali cult leader that she gets involved with emotionally and physically and so forth and so on. So I think at this point it's kind of conjecture about whether or not one would help the other. But my view is that he got out of that as quick as he could, and she's there on her own. And I have to agree with Joel about the bringing in the nuanced, the religious stuff. Not necessary, because just the testimony and the evidence itself gave the jury all they needed to know about what was influencing the decisions that she made in regarding the killing of her children and Tammy and so forth and so on. So I think the prosecutors have done a really good job of taking a very complicated case that and explaining it with clarity about where the evidence led them to be, and that's why she's sitting there now on trial.
I'm with you, Detective. Thank you for that great analysis from you both. Detective Phil Waters, Attorney Joe Richardson, stand by for us, please. We have to hit a break. When we come back, we're going to go to New Hampshire together, where the case against defendant Brandon Castiglione set to start back up. Day number 2 of this trial. This is the minister murdered trial. Officials say he's caught red-handed. He's there over the body. His gun's there. His prints are on it. But is that too simple of an explanation for this? Was he set up? His lawyers say so. We'll talk about it next.
The next episode of Accomplice to Murder.
He told me that we were going to rob the bank.
Nestor reaches down towards his left hip, pulls out a weapon, and starts firing.
They've now taken a hostage.
Her life was lived in real and pending fear.
If I don't get in there, he's gonna hurt me. I'm gonna die.
Is that the look of fear to you?
Accomplice to Murder with Vanny Politan. All new episode, Sunday night, 8/7 Central.
Only on CourtTV.
Welcome back to CourtTV Live. I'm Julie Grant. It is great to see you on this Wednesday morning. A minister is murdered and his alleged killer is found praying over his body. These are the facts with the case against defendant Brandon Castiglione. He's facing a second-degree murder charge in connection to the 2019 death of Luis Garcia. Luis Garcia was Castiglione's minister, and the two of them got along great. There was no bad blood between them. So why? Why the killing? Well, that's a big question looming over this case that just kicked off on Tuesday. So if you happen to miss the opening statements, we've got you covered. Court's going to resume any moment. As soon as the judge takes the bench, we'll go in. But in the meantime, we can use this time to get caught up on this case. Here's Ashley Wilcott with a little more on the case background.
We all were stunned, even yesterday when we got the word for the first time. It was devastating.
On Tuesday, October 1st of 2019, 60-year-old Luis Garcia was found shot to death in a Londonderry, New Hampshire home. Garcia was a minister at the New England Pentecostal Church in Pelham, about 20 miles south of Londonderry. He was a father, a stepfather, and a grandfather who had devoted his life to his faith, and he hosted a regular Thursday night prayer gathering. One of his parishioners who frequently attended those Thursday night meetings was Mark Castiglione. On the afternoon Garcia was killed, Castiglione's daughter returned home and found him dead on the floor. He had been shot once in the neck. Now, her brother, Brandon Castiglione, was also in the house praying nearby. Local station WMUR spoke with the bishop of the New England Pentecostal Church about the shooting.
He was trying to help Brandon. Brandon was having some problems mentally, and Louis was there to try to help him out.
Brandon Castiglione was arrested and charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder in the death of Luis Garcia. Prosecutors say they have fingerprint evidence found on a Glock handgun near the crime scene that links Castiglione to Garcia's death. But while Brandon was being held in the Rockingham County Jail, there was a second shooting involving the Castiglione and Garcia families. On October 12th, both families gathered at the New England Pentecostal Church, but for dramatically different reasons. Brandon Castiglione's father, Mark, was getting married there at 10 a.m. And Luis Garcia's funeral was scheduled to begin just 2 hours later at the same church. As the wedding began at 10, shots rang out.
10:12 a.m., the Pelham Police Department received a call for an active shooter at the New England Pentecostal Church.
Bishop Stanley Choate and Mark Castiglione's bride, Claire McMullen, were shot, but both fortunately survived.
A wedding was occurring at the church, and the police officers discovered a suspected shooter being detained and subdued by the guests of the wedding.
Luis Garcia's 37-year-old stepson, Dale Holloway, was arrested and faces multiple charges, including 2 counts of attempted murder. Brandon Castiglione's attorneys are pointing to Dale Holloway and raising questions about his criminal history and alleged gang connections, arguing there could be other potential suspects in the death of his stepfather, Luis Garcia. Castiglione maintains his innocence and has pled not guilty.
All right, so this case opened up on Tuesday. I want to play a little clip from each side in their opening statement so you'll really see their respective theories of their cases. Take a look.
On October 1st, 2019, Luis Garcia was senselessly shot in the back of his head and killed by this man, Brandon Castiglione. If that sounds simple to you to say it that way, it's because it is simple. This is not a case of some complicated mystery where we're trying to figure out who killed Luis. The defendant did it, and the evidence you'll hear throughout this trial will prove it. 1 bullet, 1 casing, 1 pistol, and 1 man, Brandon Castiglione.
This case is about jumping to conclusions. The police found Brandon praying in the doorway of the room where Luis Garcia lay dead, and they jumped to a conclusion. Within minutes of finding him there, Brandon was handcuffed in the back of a police car. And because the police jumped to that conclusion, they did not do a thorough investigation. You're going to hear about things that the police should have done in this case that they simply did not do. You're also going to hear that the police only looked for evidence that pointed towards Brandon.
Ooh, all right. So here's what's happening, folks. The judge has taken the bench. The jury's not yet in the box. We're going to squeeze in a break and then take you there live to New Hampshire right after this.
A family affair.
Ultimately, you had a brother and sister pitted against one another.
Who is the killer? Who done it?
Someone They Knew with Tamron Hall. Tonight, 7/6 Central. Only on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. Just want to let you know that we have the clock ticking on your screen with our countdown to the next Vallow case update. The jury will be hearing closing arguments on Thursday. The verdict will be streamed live. Today is the day that the attorneys are preparing the all-important jury instructions. So we'll have updates throughout the day on that. In the meantime, we are switching gears to our next big live trial. It kicked off yesterday with opening statements and 2 witnesses. It is the minister murder trial in New Hampshire. Brandon Castiglione accused of shooting and killing his minister, a guy that he knew and really liked. The family was very close with him. The killing happened in Brandon's father's home. This is a live look at him at counsel table. His grandma is back up on the witness stand because she knew the victim as well. This is Frances Pastana. She started her testimony yesterday, and she's talking about how she and the defendant's sister went to the home, and that's when they found Luis Garcia shot and killed.
Stairs up the side of the porch, correct?
Right.
And that's the side of the porch completely away from the driveway?
Yes.
Okay. So from where you were in the driveway, you could not see those stairs?
No.
Okay. So just to be clear, you did not personally see whether Danielle went up to the back door?
I did not see her, no, but she ran in the back, that's it.
Okay. She went behind the house, but you couldn't see what she was doing back there. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Because you were in the driveway by your children. Now, I believe you gave some information yesterday about how Brandon and you know him as Garcia, I think you said, about how Brandon and Garcia know each other?
Yes.
Okay. I want to talk to you about that just a little bit. Brandon went to your church?
Yes.
Which is New England Pentecostal?
New England Pentecostal Church.
Okay. And he would attend church services there?
Yes.
He also went to Bible studies there?
Yes.
There were actually Bible studies twice a week. Is that accurate? And I can clarify that a little bit. Once a week actually physically at the church.
Right.
And then another time during the week that would be at someone's home. Is that
We had
right?
prayer night Monday and Wednesday.
Okay. So we'll get to the Monday and Wednesday in a moment, but there on Tuesday nights there was Bible study at the church, correct?
Yes.
And then on, I believe, Thursday nights there would be Bible study at someone's home.
Right.
Okay. So I'm talking about those 2 nights of Bible study for
Okay.
So Brandon would typically go to both those nights, both Tuesday and Thursday?
Yes.
So
him and his dad. Yeah.
Okay, him and his dad.
Yes.
So Brandon went to Bible study twice a week? Usually?
Usually, yeah.
Sure. And you said, I believe he knew the Bible very well?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay. When you talked to the police, you told them he knew his Bible well. Does that sound right?
Probably, I don't remember.
Okay. And if I showed you the transcript of what you said to the police, would that help you remember? Page 32. Thank you. just ask that you read that top paragraph to yourself, please.
To myself.
Do you have enough time to read that?
Yes.
And having read that, does that help you remember what you actually told the police?
Yes.
And what did you tell the police about how Brandon knew the Bible?
He read the Bible a lot.
And you said he knew his Bible? Those were your words?
Yes, I said he knew his Bible, but no.
Okay. Thank you. You also told the police Brandon wanted to be a minister?
Yes.
And Garcia also went to the same church, correct?
Yes.
And Brandon knew Garcia through the church?
Yes.
Garcia was an elder at the church?
Yes.
And Garcia also attended Bible studies?
Yes.
He would attend the often, maybe not every week, but often he'd be there at the
Yes.
Tuesdays at the church?
Yes.
And then he would also attend the Thursday sessions that would be at someone's home, correct?
Yes.
And sometimes Garcia actually hosted those Thursday sessions?
Yes.
Sometimes I believe you hosted those Thursday sessions, is that right?
I don't remember, but we do.
Okay, so you may have, you don't.
Right, I don't remember, yeah.
That's fine. So Brandon and Garcia would typically see each other at church on Sundays, right? I'm sorry, you have to answer out loud.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, yeah.
That's okay. And they would also attend the same Bible study usually twice a week.
Yes, him and his dad both, yeah.
You also, well, I want to stick with the Bible study. These Bible study meetings, people got along?
Yes.
There were sometimes discussions and disagreements as to what the Bible meant.
Yeah, right.
Okay, but everyone got along.
Yes.
Everyone loved each other.
Yes.
Everyone treated it respectfully.
Yes.
They just had some disagreements over exactly what different verses or sections meant, right? Now, you indicated just a minute ago, you talked about some prayers or prayer meetings also, correct?
Yes.
I want to talk about those. There were prayers on Monday evenings?
I think it was Monday and Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, I believe you're correct based on what I've read.
All right.
So that was going to be my next question, was also on Wednesday.
Yes.
So prayers on Mondays and Wednesdays?
Yes.
All right. And Garcia, would he typically attend both of those?
Not all the time, no.
Not all the time, but sometimes?
Sometimes, I remember him being there a couple of times, yeah.
Okay, so sometimes he would attend those prayer meetings?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And Brandon would frequently attend those prayer meetings?
Yes, with his dad, yeah.
Okay, with his dad. So in addition to seeing Garcia at church and at Bible study twice a week, Brandon would sometimes also see him at these Monday or Wednesday prayer meetings?
Yeah, when Garcia showed up, yeah.
And you had seen Brandon and Garcia together on many occasions?
Yeah, my house, backyard, yeah.
Okay. You say backyard. I mean, sometimes not at church functions, sometimes just at social functions.
Right.
They would be together socially sometimes, as well as all those church functions that we talked about.
Yes.
All right. And you saw them together on many occasions.
Yeah, the church would have gatherings, and Brandon and his dad would be there, and we would have things in our backyard, helping with the wood and stuff like that. They help, and Garcia would always try to talk to Brandon. And
okay, so you saw them; they would often
constantly,
interact.
right.
Garcia would talk to Brandon. You never saw Brandon get angry at Garcia?
A couple of times.
Okay. You told the police that you never saw Brandon get angry at Garcia?
If I did, I don't remember, but
So remember, this is her grandson she's talking about. Her grandson is the defendant, and she's giving this testimony against him on behalf of the state, but being crossed here by her grandson's attorney. We're going to see more of this in just a moment. We have to hit a break, folks. Thank you for being with us here on Court TV Live. We'll get you right back into the minister murder trial next.
It's a mystery that's captivated the nation.
This stretch is just so beyond what anyone could imagine.
And left a trail of dead bodies.
Lori Vallow Daybell, accused of triple murder, including her 2 youngest children.
You'll hear every dramatic moment.
Money, power, and sex. That's what this case is about.
Just tell the truth. It's that simple.
The Doomsday Cult Mom Murder Trial. Coverage continues today, only on Court TV.
Watching the minister murdered case in New Hampshire, folks. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. We're so glad you're with us. This is our newest live trial we're bringing you. It just opened up yesterday. Grandma, the defendant's grandma, just finished up her testimony when we went to the break. There was no big Perry Mason moment or anything like that on the cross-examination. Just very sad, just talking about how everybody knew each other here. So she's the defendant's grandma, but she's also good family friends with the victim. Him and his wife had stayed at her home for a period of time. So everybody knows everybody here. It's very, very weird. Let me bring in my guests while we're waiting for the next witness to get called. I want to see what they think of this case so far and maybe who has the stronger case. With me in Magnolia, Texas, legendary homicide detective Phil Waters, and in Los Angeles, California, trial attorney and law professor Joe Richardson. Great to have you both on the show today. Detective Phil, let me pick your brain here. You know, if you were working this homicide, curious what you'd want to know, what questions you would have when you arrive at the scene, and the people who apparently discovered the scene are grandma, sister, you know, and this is in the defendant's home, a defendant over the body of the victim who he knows and was there doing painting work at his house, and he's often there doing that kind of work. Tell me what questions would be going through your mind, please, as you arrive at that scene.
Well, I think it's interesting, the defense opening, and he's talking about he's got to go after a botched investigation, and so for how they got targeted on the defendant and focused on him at the exclusion of everyone else and that kind of thing. Well, the things he's describing are exactly what happened at a homicide scene. You know, the officers that respond to that call get there, they secure everyone that's there because they don't know if you may have a suspect present or you may have witnesses. You don't know who those people are, so you get them separated out and you get them secured, you get the scene secured. And then the homicide detectives show up and they let the scene. I know when I showed up at these types of scenes, the first thing I got to do is walk in there and be objective about what I'm looking at. I don't walk in there predisposed to a conclusion, period. So
right.
You walk in, you let the scene talk to you. In this particular case, what I would be doing is, let's see, where's the body? What's the position of the body? What are the indications that would maybe show how this event even occurs? And it's notable here that he's shot in the back of the head and so forth and so on. So, you know, and this young man, this defendant, there's obviously a relationship here with everybody, as you've said, with everybody involved in this thing. And I thought it was interesting in the cross, the defense attorney alludes to, ask a question about, did you ever see Pastor Garcia and the defendant arguing. And her response was, well, a couple of times. He wasn't expecting that answer. You could see it on the look on his face. And so that's when he comes back and says, well, didn't you say that you'd never seen it, blah, blah, blah. And her response is, well, if I said that, I don't remember that. So Grandma is a solid witness for the state. She's not getting rattled up there, and she's just up there stating what happened. So when the detectives are interviewing her, which would be one of the things that, of course, I would be doing, and she's not an impartial witness because she does know everybody, but she appears to me to be simply stating what she saw, what she witnessed, and the overall picture of what she witnessed with the dynamics and the relationship between the defendant and Pastor Garcia. So all of those things come together, and it's one of these cases where this is what we would call a smoking gun, because you have the suspect at the scene. It's not a whodunit, and the detectives, it would appear to me, had done their due diligence. You've got links, you've got the pistol there, his fingerprints on it. That's direct evidence. He's at the scene, and so now it's a determination of what caused this to happen. And so this is what I go into my psychological autopsies of the defendant and of the victim in this case, and try to put together how did this all converge to make this event occur?
Your perspective is so helpful, Detective Phil. Thank you for that. I want to play a clip now. This is from the first law enforcement official to arrive. This is a patrol sergeant. His name is Andrew Phillips. He works with the Londonderry Police Department, who worked this case. And then on the other side, Joe Richardson, I want to pick your brain on what this sergeant did and if there were any deficiencies you see here. Let's watch.
There was somebody who was later identified as Brandon Castiglione, was inside of the bedroom, just a couple feet from the doorway. He was on the floor. It's kind of hard to describe, like a fetal type position on his hands and knees with his hands on his head on the ground. He was kind of trembling. And then there's another subject. I can only see his legs sticking out from behind a cabinet or a dresser that was in the middle of the room.
That first person you described, male in a fetal position, I think is how you put it, on his hands and knees. Do you see that person in the courtroom today?
I do, yes.
Could you point him out and describe a piece of clothing he's wearing?
He's wearing a white dress shirt.
The record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
What do you think?
No objection.
What's that?
Was the defendant moving when you saw him there in that room?
Like I said, he was trembling. It was just small movements, nothing of significance.
Did you hear him saying anything when you went inside?
He was mumbling. I couldn't make out what it was that he was saying.
Could you determine a general gist of what it was that he was doing there on the floor?
It was definitely odd, him being there. It was, as far as what he was doing on the floor, I don't know.
And I think you said that you saw someone else's legs in the room?
Correct, yes.
Did anyone, could you describe the position of those legs that you saw?
So like I said, they were sticking out from behind a dresser. I could tell by the orientation that the subject was on his back, and his legs were bent.
Did anyone check on that person?
Yes, Officer Morin did.
Was Officer Morin the first person to go in that room?
Yes.
Okay. And when you say checked on him, how did he do that?
Officer Morin walked around. The furniture was all pushed in towards the middle. I couldn't see him, but I heard him say that it appeared that the male was deceased.
Was that male laying on his back, as you described it, was he ever identified?
Yes.
Who was that?
Luis Garcia.
At that point, or at any point, did you fully enter the room?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Where were you positioned inside the room?
I stayed behind Mr. Castiglione while Officer Morin checked on Mr. Garcia.
And that's behind the defendant?
Yes, correct, yes.
As you stood there, what did you observe from that position?
From that position, a few feet, or just a couple feet from the defendant's head, was a single shell casing on the floor.
Okay, and the state put forth that theme, Joe Richardson, in their opening statement of one casing, one firearm, one defendant. I like that a lot. I was digging that trial theme. And then listening to that sergeant's testimony that, you know, it only stands to reason, right, that he detains the defendant. I mean, do you see anything wrong with the detention? I mean, you know, defense counsel saying, well, there's this big rush to judgment here. Yeah, but, you know, as Detective Waters said, you know, you got the smoking gun, you got him over the body. I mean, you got to sort it out, but keep everybody safe at the same time, too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's a rush to judgment to detain him based on what it is that they get to the scene and saw, what they saw once they got to the scene. Now, I imagine the defense has a defense where they're going to try to undermine the investigation to say somehow that it's botched. I don't know, and I'm not a homicide detective, I'm a lawyer, and there can be a difference on some level, but I would say that this investigation, anything is possible, but to start with, at least, it seems fairly straightforward. In other words, you're not in a different place where it's hard to, herd people, information. The one thing I think can be really, really effective. The question is, does it stay that simple?
Appreciate it. Joe Richardson, you are going to stay with me as we head into our next hour. Happy to have you sticking around. And Detective Phil Waters, we have to say goodbye to you. You have some other obligations, but thank you so much for making time for us this morning. We'll look forward to more analysis from you again very soon here on Court TV Live. And a programming note before we head to break, folks. This afternoon, attorney Mark Garagos will be joining Court TV Live to talk about the newly filed court documents in the Menendez brothers murder case. Garagos currently representing Eric and Lau Menendez and says that their life sentences could be overturned. Join us at 5:15. Big day here at Court TV Live. So glad you are with us. Welcome back. I'm Julie Grant. The case against defendant Brandon Castiglione is heating up this morning in New Hampshire. This is the minister murdered trial. Prosecutors calling witnesses to the stand, trying to convict him of the second-degree murder of his minister, Luis Garcia. We just saw his grandma on the stand. She finished up. The next witness is his sister. We're going to go back in there in just a second. You're not missing anything, I promise. First, though, we want to take you to Idaho, where the Doomsday Cult Mom case is nearing its end. Both sides resting. Soon the case is going to be in the hands of the jury. Let me bring in Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson, who is live there following this trial for us outside the courthouse today. Good to see you again, my friend. Could we talk a little bit about the evidence that the state landed on? How did they finish after these many, many weeks of presenting?
Yeah, almost 5 full weeks. Julie, good morning to you. So yes, all the evidence is in and before this jury right now, and the state ended their case with more of that steamy love affair, more text messages between the prophet and the goddess, also known as Chad and Lori, at around the time of Tammy Daybell's death. Take a listen.
Lori starts, I am missing you more. I need you desperately. Heart, I can't wait. 2 kiss emojis. Need you to hold me tight. That would be great. What about the idea of you coming here Thursday or Friday? Or do you want me to come home? ? Chad replies, their apartment is haunted and we can't clear the place. So they are looking to move anyway, and I have the perfect place for them. I need to be here to get some sorting the financial stuff, and I truly need your help. So please come home Thursday so we can spend the night together. Lori replies, I love that plan. Kiss emoji. It's not soon enough though. This is torture. Maybe you need to clear my mind so I can't remember how much I love you. Heart emoji. I will try. But it feels like Raphael and Lily are together at about 100%. Not sure if this will ever be lower again. Lori replies, that's true. I do feel you. Heart emoji. I feel lovesick. I can't sleep. I don't want to eat. I just want you. It's so consuming. And I think those are sad faces. Chad replies, I know exactly how you feel. I am feeling sad, but it isn't for the reason everyone thinks.
Again, these messages are being exchanged the day after Chad reports Tammy deceased?
Yes.
Julie, the trial watchers telling me, the ones that were in court yesterday, that this helps connect the dots, at least for them, when it comes to the conspiracy charges surrounding Tammy Daybell with the love affair that they were in the middle of and that they heard so much about. Now, as for Lori Vallow Daybell choosing not to take the stand, they weren't too surprised. Take a listen.
In her mind, I think she feels like she's innocent. And I think she feels like she has the ability to sway the jurors to that end. I don't know. It's all just so interesting to us.
And that decision not to testify, not a shocker, but it was also a last-minute decision. According to my sources close to the defense, they said that it was basically down to the minute.
We thought it would be, Matt, didn't we? We thought it would be. So that says a lot about Cult Mom, that this was actually a really strong consideration for her to do that. And smart move, as we know, by not testifying. I don't think should be able to help herself any. Curious, please, Matt, what the Woodcocks had to say with everything finally coming to somewhat of a conclusion in terms of the evidentiary presentation. What did they share?
Julie, you know, they've been through so much. It was their call to action that really led us here. So many years later, after JJ and Tylee went missing, were reported missing, they just wanted to know where the kids were. Well, it's becoming very real for them that this is now going to be in the hands of the jury very, very soon. And yesterday, before Lori decided whether or not she was going to testify, during that break, we are told that Larry Woodcock actually was seen by EMTs. He had to be treated. He is completely fine. Kay Woodcock releasing a statement to East Idaho News saying that it's all becoming very real, but he's feeling much better. They're going to be taking much of the day off today since the jury won't be present today. Now, as we were leading up to the moment of Lori deciding whether or not she was going to take the stand, we did meet up with him before he left early yesterday, and here's what he shared with our cameras.
I think the prosecution has been meticulous. They have laid this out just like a page in a book from start to finish. The evidence is there. It's undeniable. I think Lori is indefendable. And I look forward to this going to the case, and let's get a verdict, guys.
I also reached out to Janine Hansen, who is, of course, one of the Woodcocks' very close friends and supporters. She has been here at this courthouse and passing out those support wristbands. She spoke with the Woodcocks earlier this morning. When I reached out to her, she said, again, he is doing fine, and they're going to be taking much of the day off, Julie.
Hansen, she's a really, really nice lady, as you know, Matt. Very invested on being an advocate for those kids. Matt Johnson live for us there in Boise, Idaho. Thank you kindly for that update. We'll look forward to seeing more from you throughout the day here on Court TV Live. What we want to do now is take you back to New Hampshire, folks. We have the minister murdered case going on. This is day number 2 and witness number 2. First, we saw the defendant's grandma, now his sister. Why? Because it was grandma and sister who arrived at Dad's house where the defendant was with the victim at the time the victim was doing painting work on the house. So grandma and sister discovered the body. So let's go in now and hear from the defendant's sister. Her name is Danielle Padalano.
I'd like to ask briefly, are you currently employed?
Yes.
Okay. Where do you work?
I work for Prudential.
Okay. And what type of work do you do?
Benefit technology relationship.
Yeah. How long have you been working in that field?
3.5 years.
And what town did you grow up in?
Londonderry, New Hampshire.
Where did you live in Londonderry when you were there?
15 Ridgemont Drive.
And who else lived there with you?
Brandon Castiglione.
And your father lived there as well?
Yes.
What's his name?
Mark Castiglione.
In September through October of 2019, were you then living down in Massachusetts, or were you living with your parents?
I was living in Massachusetts.
Before Tuesday, October 1st, 2019, before that, when was the last time that you saw your brother Brandon?
I believe it was to celebrate my birthday, so sometime in September.
Sometime in September?
The end of September, I believe.
Okay. How often did you talk with your brother at that time?
Not too frequently. I text him once in a while.
Okay. And when you text him, can you kind of describe for the jury what those exchanges were like? Was it just kind of a long chain that goes back and forth all day, or was it a short, medium? How would you describe it?
Short, mostly one-sided, me just sending one thing here or there.
I'd like to talk for a moment about another individual, Mr. Luis Garcia. Do you know who Mr. Luis Garcia is?
Yes.
Had you met him in person before?
Yes.
Show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 1. It's silver ID. Your Honor, with the understanding, with no objection from the defendant, we'd ask for the ID to be stricken on State's Exhibit 1 to be the full exhibit.
No objection, I It's an exhibit. It's never shown to the jury.
Thank you, Your Honor. Who's this?
Garcia.
Garcia. Is that what you call him, Garcia?
Yes.
As opposed to Luis?
Correct.
Okay. How did you first meet Luis?
I don't know if it was at my grandmother's church or if it was at her house.
And how long had you known him?
I'm not really sure. Whenever my grandparents started attending that church.
Let me ask just kind of generally, we're talking, did you know him for months, years?
I can't recall. If there was some time I've known him or known of him, but I can't recall the timing.
Did you ever see him with your parents at different places other than their house?
I don't recall seeing my dad with them at all. I know they went to church together, but.
Did you ever attend that same church?
A couple of times.
A couple of times. And do you remember whether you may have seen Luis there at that church when you went?
Yes, at least one of the times.
Okay. Again, kind of going back to Tuesday, October 1st of 2019. Around that time, how often were you talking with your father?
Usually every lunch, Monday through Friday, every day.
Yeah, Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm. So you guys talk a lot? Mm-hmm. Okay. It's got to be a yes or a no.
Sorry, I apologize, yes.
That's okay. That's okay. Do you remember if you talked to him on Tuesday, October 1st, 2019?
Yes.
Okay. Without going into the specifics of the conversation back and forth, at some point, did you generally discuss Luis Garcia?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you tell your father in response to that conversation? Again, I'm just looking for kind of your side of the conversation. What did you tell your father when you were talking about Luis on that Tuesday in the phone call?
It started with...
Objection, hearsay.
Your Honor, I'm asking for her statements. And it goes to the fact, excuse me, we can approach it.
What's your approach?
Well, guess what? Defense counsel's right on that objection. It is hearsay. Her statement, what she said, is hearsay. You know, and the state should know this. They should know this. They should try to come up with an exception under the rules for it. We'll see if they can. We're hitting the pause button, folks, because we have to hit a break. Thank you for waking up with us on this Wednesday morning. We'll get you back into the case in New Hampshire of the minister murdered right after this.
It's the case that's captivated the nation.
The Doomsday Cult Mom murder trial.
And CourtTV is there with multiple ways to listen.
Money, power, and sex. That's what this case is about.
Hear all the biggest moments on our daily CourtTV podcast. Join the conversation on our YouTube page and follow every dramatic turn on CourtTV.com.
No cameras in the courtroom, but CourtTV has you covered.
Go in depth on the Doomsday Cult Mom murder trial with CourtTV.
Back to Court TV Live, I'm Julie Grant. Thanks for being with us as we are watching the minister murder trial playing out in New Hampshire. Defendant Brandon Castiglione accused of shooting and killing his minister, a guy who was a family friend, a guy he liked very much. It's really a head scratcher. And is there a smoking gun? I mean, police literally found him over the body with his gun nearby. That gun was the gun that shot the pastor, but was Brandon Castiglione set up? His sister and his grandmother arrived at the home and were the first to call police after discovering the shooting. Let's go in now and listen to more from his sister. The state was trying to get out some hearsay from her. The defense was smart to object, and we hit the pause button. Let's see what happens.
Where does she live?
Derry, New Hampshire.
Travel-wise, is her house closer to your father's, or is your house closer to your father's where you are in
Her
Massachusetts?
house is closer.
Her house is closer, okay. Did you ask your grandmother to do anything?
Yes.
What did you ask her to do?
I asked if she could get in touch with Patty, Garcia's wife, to see if she's heard from him.
Okay. And at the end of that conversation, did you end up having another phone call with your grandmother that day?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. How much longer, what was the time period between those two calls, between the first one and the second?
I can't recall.
Do you remember if it was a long period of time, multiple hours, or a shorter period of time?
Shorter period of time.
Shorter period of time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Without going into what she said to you in that second phone call, after you had that phone call with her, where did you go?
I can't recall if I picked my daughter up from school first.
Mm-hmm.
But I did state that I was going to make a trip to my dad's.
And why were you going to your father's house?
Just to check on Brandon and Garcia.
And up until that point, had you heard from either your brother Brandon or from Garcia?
No.
Had you tried to reach out to them?
I tried reaching out to Brandon.
And how did you try to reach out to him?
I believe it was just a text.
Did you try to reach out to Garcia at all?
No, I don't have his phone number.
When you tried to reach out to your brother, did he pick up the phone? Or I'm sorry, you said a text.
I texted him.
Did you get any response?
No.
Had you verbally spoken over the phone with your brother all that morning?
No.
When you texted him, had you texted before this moment, when you texted him and then you were going over to your father's house, had you texted him earlier on in the day?
I don't believe so.
At some point in time, did you go ahead and later on that afternoon, did you share the contents of your cell phone with police officers or allow them to look at the phone?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall whether or not you showed them the text messages you had sent that day to your brother?
Yes.
Your Honor, my understanding would be no objection from defense counsel that represents 16 full exhibit. So we'd ask for ID to be straight on State's Exhibit 16.
Can I take a look at it first?
Yes, sir.
It's content of the text message, right? I just had a
content and time.
All right. All right, thank you. Thank you.
I'll show you this remarked copy of State's Exhibit 16. Do you recognize what this is a photo of?
Yes.
Okay, and what's that photo of?
My phone.
Your phone? And specifically, is this a photo of, and shows the text messages that you sent to your brother that day?
Correct.
Okay. And just so we understand, where is that? At the top or at the bottom of the page?
At the bottom of the page.
Bottom of the page. All right. I can draw your attention over to the screen. I'm going to publish State's Exhibit 16. And I know it's actually going to be a little hard to see. Is that the same thing that we just looked at on this photo?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to zoom in on the bottom so we're just seeing the part that, as you can see there, titled at the top. Can you read that? Tuesday, October 1st, 2019. Can you see that?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I can.
I should have.
Everybody in the jury see that okay?
Okay.
Okay. Can you zoom in a little bit more?
I can't.
Or in the back where I can't see it.
Just a little bit.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
No problem. So, is this accurate in terms of your phone that you had sent him a link to a Michael W. Smith song?
Yes.
Okay, and what time did you send that link?
9:58 a.m.
And for those people who are not familiar with Michael W. Smith's music, what kind of style of music is that?
Christian.
Okay. And did you receive any response to this?
No.
I'm going to now zoom in on the bottom portion of State's Exhibit 16. Can you see that from where you are?
Yes.
I want to make sure that I'm reading this accurately. Actually, if you could go ahead. What's in the blue section or teal? Mm-hmm. Actually, what color would you say that is?
Teal.
Okay, then I'm going to use teal. Within that teal section, is that the message that you wrote to Brandon?
Yes.
Okay. Could you please read it for us?
I had a horrible dream last night. I hope you're doing okay. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm really concerned about you. I love you so much, Brandon.
Mrs. Padalano, I'm sorry, but what time did you send that text?
12:51 in the afternoon.
(12:51 p.m.)
Correct.
Did you receive any response to those texts?
I did not.
Where does your dad live again? What was the address?
15 Ridgemont Drive.
How long did it take you to get over there?
I don't know, probably 35 minutes, 40 minutes, depending on, that's, I think, driving time, but I had kids.
And kids, how many kids did you have with you? How many children do you have?
I have 3 kids.
And were they all with you at the time?
Yes.
Okay. And without going into specifics, well, actually, I guess I will go into specifics. Just briefly, could you tell us what their ages are so we understand?
3, 5, and 7.
Okay. And that's 3, 5, and 7 back in 2000.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's how old they are today.
Oh, okay.
So a newborn. Oh my goodness, I have to do math now. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm not good at math.
It's okay.
I'm trying to think of all right, so my oldest, I think a 3-year-old and almost 3-year-old, 2-year-old, and a newborn, I believe.
When you got to the house, who was there already?
Well, there was Louis' car was there.
Okay. Did you see any other cars when you got there?
I don't recall.
All right, we're going to hit the pause button here with the defendant's sister's testimony. This is really key because she's a really important factual witness in terms of this discovery of the minister shot and killed in her dad's home, where her brother was the only one home at the time that police know of. The defense, the contention is that he's innocent, that they got the wrong guy. I want to answer a quick question on Twitter as we head to break. Yes, someone asked why 2 counts of second-degree murder, different variations of the statute. Yes, there was 1 shot fired, but they've charged the statute under the knowing portion of the conduct and the reckless portion of it. So that is why 2 counts, but 1 act, and as the prosecution said, 1 cartridge casing, 1 shot that was fatal, 1 gun, and 1 killer, as they say. But have they got it right? Tweet us at CourtTV. Let us know right now. We'll be back with more live after this. A minister gunned down.
Now, a New Hampshire man stands trial for murder.
Prosecutors say they have fingerprint evidence found on a Glock handgun near the crime scene that links Castiglione to Garcia's death.
The defendant was allegedly found praying over the victim's body.
Court TV cameras are taking you inside the courtroom for every dramatic moment.
The murdered minister trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. We have our countdown clock up at the bottom of your screen, as you can see. And things in Idaho are going on with a charging conference today. The lawyers getting together with the judge, talking about the law that the jury should receive before they go to deliberate the facts after the all-important closing arguments. So we'll get you your next update on the action in about a half an hour. Closing set for tomorrow. The verdict will be live streamed. The judge changing his mind and allowing that portion of it to be shared with the world. It's unfortunate our cameras weren't allowed in for the whole thing, but it is what it is, and we've done our best to bring you all of the major highlights, and we'll continue to do so. That being said, our cameras are allowed in a courtroom in New Hampshire where the minister murder trial is taking place. The defendant is a guy named Brandon Castiglione, and his sister is on the witness stand right now. She is talking about how she arrived at the house, and she was the one really traumatized here, finding the minister's body. The minister, who's a family friend, everybody knows him, finding him shot to death in her father's house. Let's go back to court and watch.
You said earlier on you had a phone call with you had a couple phone calls with your grandmother. Did she arrive at the house as well? Did you see her there?
She came after me.
Okay. How long were you there before she came after you?
I think she pulled up not even a minute after me.
Not even a minute. Okay. Without going into what the two of you said, what did you physically do when you got there? So kind of explain that for the jury. You got there, you get out of the car. Where do you go and what do you do?
I got out of the car, left my car running because the kids were in the car, and I started to go up to the house, ring the doorbell, knock on the door, and to see if I can get anybody's attention.
I could direct your attention to the screen. We're going to go to State's Exhibit 10. Whose house is this?
My dad's.
And from that, you stated, I believe, that you went up to the door?
I did.
Okay. So turning now to State's Exhibit 12. Is this the front door of the house?
Yes.
And when you got to the door, what did you do to try to get in initially?
I just rang the doorbell initially and knocked on the door and then used the door knocker at the top, I believe.
Was there any response when you did that?
No.
Did you hear anything from inside the house when you were doing that?
No.
The doorbell, when you were ringing the doorbell, some doorbells are loud, some are soft. From standing outside, could you hear whether the doorbell was going off inside when you were pressing the button?
I can't recall.
Okay. And when you couldn't get in the front door, where did you go?
I went around back, up the stairs to like the porch area.
Let me show you State's Exhibit 15. Is this the back of the house?
Yes.
Okay. And the porch area that you're talking about, if we look into the lower left-hand or middle left-hand corner of the house, is this the area that we're talking about on State's Exhibit 15?
Yes.
When you got to the top of those stairs, were you able to get inside the house then?
No.
And when you say no, you're talking about the door that we can see in this photo?
Correct. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go right ahead.
Correct. That door was locked.
Okay. From there, did you try to look in or get a response anywhere else in the house besides the front and the back?
Besides from the back, yes. I just went around the house where the bedroom light was on and started throwing acorns at the window.
Okay. And when you say the bedroom light, are you talking about a room that's closer to the driveway or the opposite side of the house?
The opposite side of the house.
this point now showing you, excuse me, I've got out of order here. State's Exhibit 14. Is this the side of the house that we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me ask this. Is this the, you sound kind of hesitant with that answer. So.
I'm trying to see the, yeah, I believe so. I'm just making sure the driveway is on the other side of that bush or tree.
Okay. Let me go ahead. I'm going to bring the photos closer. So we looked at State's Exhibit 15. Actually, let's start from the driveway. Let me show you what's been marked State's Exhibit 9. This is the driveway?
That's the driveway.
Okay. So that's one side of the house. Actually, can you see it by skin back?
Yes.
Is that okay? All right. So this is one side of the house, and with regards to the driveway here, you parked in that driveway, or did you park out on the street?
Initially I parked in that driveway.
Parked in the driveway, okay. And which side of the house has the fireplace? Is it the living room side of the house or the bedroom side of the house?
The living room side of the house.
Okay. And what's this right here?
The chimney.
The chimney. So that's one side of the house with the chimney. And then from that, flipping over to, again, State's Exhibit 14. And that's what we see on the screen there, is that right?
Correct.
So this is the other side of the house?
Yes.
Okay. And is that where the bedrooms are?
Yes.
When you said that you were throwing acorns at a bedroom window, was it one of these two windows or a different bedroom window?
It was one of those windows.
All right. Could you tell us, or point out for which one?
It was this window.
Okay. So looking up on the screen there, are you referring to the window or on the left or the right-hand side of the home?
The right-hand side.
Have I zoomed into that correctly? The right window is
yes.
more centered? Excuse me, I'm doing it. In this particular photo of that window, do you see that there's a light bulb on, or a light on from inside, a lamp?
Yes.
Was that lamp on when you were there?
I believe so, yes.
When you were throwing acorns at the window, anybody respond?
No.
And were you saying anything when you were trying different doors?
Yes.
What were you saying?
Brandon Garcia. Is anybody there? Is everybody okay?
Any response to that?
No.
Did you have a key to the home when you arrived?
No.
When you were at the home, who, if anyone, did you call to try to get access inside?
My dad.
Were you eventually able to get inside after you talked with him?
Yes.
And how?
He told me where the key was.
And where was the key?
Under the mat, in front of the front door.
A mat in front of the front door?
Correct.
Oh, okay, let's dissect these really important facts she was just talking about. The house is locked, right? It's locked. But there's a key that stays underneath the mat. That is the key that the victim, Luis Garcia, would use to get in and out of the house when he would do painting. So it raises the question, who else might have known about this key or used this key to go in on that day? Let me bring in my guest, trial attorney and professor of law, Joe Richardson, on the show today, joining us from Los Angeles. Okay, Joe, give me your thoughts. Tell me where your head is right now at this point in the case.
Well, it's interesting that the sister of the defendant talks about getting to the house with her 3 kids. She's not hearing. She sees Luis Garcia's car outside. She throws acorns up against the window, calling for her brother. Doesn't hear anything. Trying to figure out what's going on. Something's amiss. She sent a text to him where she expressed some concern about what was happening to him in general. And so, it begs the question, why is he not responding when, she's throwing cake or acorns up against the window. She's calling out for him, those types of things. And so now she's getting the key and she's in a position to go into the house and see what's happening there. But, it does beg the question, is he so distraught that he can't respond because something just happened? And to your point, who else has the key? Because theoretically, someone who gets in is somebody who's going to have the key. So he's already there. I don't know how much more is going to come through about why the son is already there, et cetera, but it's certainly an interesting situation.
It really is, Joe. This is a tricky one, because we know the defense, we think we know where we're going here. They're saying that the state got the wrong guy, and it seems like it's early in the case, but there might be pointed fingers at a guy who did a retaliatory shooting, allegedly. The stepson of the victim. There are allegations that he has gang affiliations, and there's kind of this cloud of suspicion. And so while the defense is pointing at somebody else, whether it's that guy or someone else, here it's pretty tough to get around the fact that you have the defendant there alone in the home with the victim. Joe Richardson, I'm so glad you're with us today. Stand by. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we'll go back into the courtroom, hear more from the defendant's sister in the minister murder case. This is Court TV Live. We are your front row seat to justice. Minister gunned down.
Now, a New Hampshire man stands trial for murder. Court TV cameras are taking you inside the courtroom for every dramatic moment.
The murdered minister trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
A family affair.
Ultimately, you had a brother and sister pitted against one another. Who is the killer? Who done it?
Someone they knew with Tamron Hall. Tonight, 7/6 Central. Only on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. Let's go back to New Hampshire together. Now we're watching the minister murder trial. On the stand is the defendant's sister. She is one of the state's witnesses in this case against him because she came to her father's home after nobody could get a hold of the victim, Luis Garcia. He's the pastor, the family friend. It's important to know, my friends, that everybody in this case seems to know each other. All the important factual witnesses know each other. So the minister and the defendant were somewhat close with no bad blood. That's what makes this such a head scratcher. And when the house was locked, the sister's talking about even throwing acorns at the windows to try to get somebody to open the door because, to her knowledge, her brother and the pastor should be inside. Let's listen to more of her testimony together now.
So you were on the phone with your father when you got the key?
Yes.
Okay. Where was your grandmother at that point?
Near my car. I believe she was next to my car, near my car, and she was in that vicinity, definitely in the driveway.
Could you see her from where you were near getting the key at the mat?
Getting the key, possibly not, depending on where she is, because there's tall, shrubs. But I can't recall.
Let me go ahead then and show you State's Exhibit. I just want to make sure I understand what you mean. I'll show you State's Exhibit 11, which is a full exhibit. This particular photo, I'm going to stand back here if you don't mind. Sorry to have you turn like that. On this, can we see the shrubs that you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, and where are they?
They're right here.
Over here on the right-hand side of the exhibit. How tall are those shrubs?
They're pretty tall. They might be taller than me, but they're tall.
Okay. And the front door, that's right at the end of the walkway, right?
Correct.
Once you got the key, what did you do?
I unlocked the door.
And that particular door, that lock, when you unlock the door, after you opened the door, where'd you go?
I started making my way upstairs.
Why up and not down?
We never really utilized the half of that half of the house, I've, since, we never really utilized that half of the house. So everything always is upstairs usually.
I'm going to show you what's been marked State's Exhibit 2, and we'll go ahead and do it on the big screen there. Do you recognize this view or this photo?
Yes.
Okay. And what entry spot of the house does this show?
That is coming through the front door.
And you said that you went up the stairs at that time, right?
Correct.
So if we were to walk up those stairs ourselves and get to the top of the stairs and turn left down the hallway, can you kind of outline for the jury what are the rooms? If we just kind of take a left going down the hallway, you just kind of work your way around clockwise, starting from the left to the right. So as I go down that hallway, what's the first room on my left?
The first room on your left would be Brandon's room.
Okay. And then what's the room in the corner, the one you indicated you saw the lamp on?
That was my old bedroom.
So that was your room?
Yes.
And the bedroom opposite that or on the right, towards the end, whose is that?
My dad's bedroom.
And then the next room that we have on the right, what's room?
Would be the bathroom.
That's the bathroom.
Correct.
So Brandon's room, your bedroom, your father's bedroom, your bathroom.
Yes.
Okay. And then from the top here of State's Exhibit 2, what's the room straight ahead? If I just went straight at the top of the stairs, what room am I walking?
The kitchen.
So when you got to the top of the stairs, you said that you took a left, is that correct?
I did, correct.
And I'm showing you now what's been marked State's Exhibit 3. Is this, let's see, what does this photo show?
The hallway.
When you're in the house and going down this hallway, what are you saying now?
I'm talking very loudly or yelling, Brandon, Garcia, are you guys okay? Brandon, it's your sister Danielle. Brandon, are you okay?
When you got past Brandon's room, towards your old room, at the end of the hall, what did you see in that last room on the right?
I saw Brandon laying in like a fetal position in the doorway. And then I saw like a corner desk that was moved in the middle of the room, covered with some kind of cloth for painting. And then I saw 2 legs from the knee down.
Where were the 2 legs from the knee down?
They were on the other side of the desk, closest to the wall with the window for the side of the house.
The window where you had been throwing the acorns?
One of the windows, correct.
One of the windows, okay. And you've thrown them at multiple windows to try to?
2 windows.
2 windows.
One on the front, one on the side.
Same room?
Same room.
And when you got there, you said that you found you found your brother in the fetal position.
Correct.
What was he doing?
I don't know. I didn't even know if he was breathing.
Do you remember whether he was making any noises?
Only right before I left, I was scared and I was staring at him and I was just hoping I could see a breath. So when I saw a little bit of breathing and heard a little noise, that's when I left.
And when you left, where did you go?
I ran outside.
And when you ran outside, what did you do?
I told my grandmother to call 911.
And was a call to 911 placed?
Yes.
At that point, or at some point after that, did police officers respond?
Yes.
I'd like to ask you, when you went into the house, you said that you had unlocked the door. When you left the house, you left the door open?
Yes.
You didn't close it up and lock it up again?
No.
Okay. I'd like to show you what's been marked State's Exhibit 13B and 13A for identification purposes. Your Honor, it's my understanding that there's no objection from defendants, so we'd ask for the identification to be stricken on photos 13A and 13B.
Okay, they're admitted. Maybe come to the jury.
Thank you. Well, I'm showing you Twin Mark States Exhibit 13A and then 13B. And just generally, do you recognize, what is the photo 13A a photo of?
Standing on the lower stairs looking out the front door.
And what about 13B? What are we looking at there?
The side of the front door.
Okay. From the side of the front door, can we see the lock mechanism that you were talking about earlier?
Yes.
And with the particular lock here, do you remember with regards to which lock you put the key into?
I believe it was the top lock.
You believe it was the top lock? So 13A being the door?
Correct.
And 13B being the top lock?
Yes.
Imagine how tough this is for his sister to be up there testifying against him and the trauma that she went through. I mean, just finding the body of their family friend, the minister, Luis Garcia, who was killed here. This is tough stuff, folks. And this is a mystery, this case. We'll see what happens. Tweet us your thoughts and stay with us. I want to bring in my friend and colleague, Ted Rowlands. He's in the studio, going to be taking over the coverage. Ted, good to see you this afternoon.
Good to see you. Julie, is it this afternoon or you're jumping the gun? It's
I am jumping the gun. You're right. I am. I've been here too long, Ted.
We are getting there. And when we come back, we're going to continue with the sister on the stand, plus an update on Lori Vallow Daybell. Stay with us. Back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rowlands. The fate of doomsday cult mom Lori Vallow could be in the hands of a jury very soon, this time tomorrow. Closing arguments are set for tomorrow morning in the triple murder trial. The prosecution and the defense rested their cases yesterday. Lori Vallow Daybell decided not to testify. The judge and the attorneys are meeting to finalize the jury instructions today. And the big news we found out yesterday, when there's a verdict, we'll bring it to you live. The judge has agreed to allow a live broadcast of the verdict when it comes down. Court TV is also bringing you the Minister murder trial in New Hampshire. Defendant Brandon Castiglione is charged with second-degree murder in the death of Luis Garcia. We're going to get you back into court, picking up the sister's testimony in just a minute, right where we left off. But let's head out to Boise, Idaho, where Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson is outside the Ada County Courthouse. And Matt, here we are, the end of the road, and it's now soon it'll be up to the jury. Talk about the case, the state's case wrapping up yesterday with, that was it. They said they were going to have two more witnesses, and sure enough, that's what they ended with.
Yeah, Ted, hey, good afternoon. Nice to see you. So, years in the making, we are now on the eve of closing arguments here at the Ada County Courthouse. All the evidence in, as you just mentioned, and they were really doubling down, the state was, on the affair between Chad and Lori right before Tammy Daybell's death and right after. Take a listen.
Lori starts, I am missing you more. I need you desperately. Heart, I can't wait. 2 kiss emojis. Need you to hold me tight. That would be great. What about the idea of you coming here Thursday or Friday? Or do you want me to come home? ? Chad replies, their apartment is haunted and we can't clear the place. So they are looking to move anyway, and I have the perfect place for them. I need to be here to get sorting the financial stuff, and I truly need your help. So please come home Thursday so we can spend the night together. Lori replies, I love that plan. Kiss emoji. It's not soon enough though. This is torture. Maybe you need to clear my mind so I can't remember how much I love you. Heart emoji. I will try, but it feels like Raphael and Lily are together at about 100%. Not sure if this will ever be lower again. Lori replies, that's true. I do feel you. Heart emoji. I feel lovesick. I can't sleep. I don't want to eat. I just want you. It's so consuming. And I think those are sad faces. Chad replies, I know exactly how you feel. I am feeling sad, but it isn't for the reason everyone thinks.
Again, these messages are being exchanged the day after Chad reports Tammy deceased.
Yes.
Yeah, Chad not concerned at all, Ted, with the death of his first wife, the mother of his children. He's just more concerned about his love affair with Lori and moving forward in his own life. But you know what? The state was there connecting the dots to that conspiracy to commit murder charge that Lori faces in the death of Tammy Daybell.
After the state rested, we found out, sadly, that Lori doesn't want to tell her story. How did that go down?
Right, you know, and my sources close to the defense team said that it was a game day decision up to the last minute. What we knew here in open court is that they cleared out the courtroom on the 4th floor here at the Ada County courtroom. The defense team met with Lori, and after they did, after a lengthy break, there was this.
Your Honor, we don't believe the state has proved its case, so the defense will rest.
Very well. Does the defense then I'll just inquire of your client, Mr. Archibald. So, Ms. Vallow, you do have the Fifth Amendment right to, in this case, according to the Fifth Amendment,